This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It can be easy to ignore our social battery and spread ourselves thin, especially with social gatherings picking up after the winter. What's the right amount of socializing for you, and how do you recharge? Therapy can give you self-awareness to build a social life that doesn't drain your battery.
Yes, find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/pretendprobs today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/pretendprobs. Now here's the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pretend Problems podcast. I'm Kelsey Cook.
And I'm Bert Kreischer.
I was kidding.
I'm just going to keep listing mega names until this has the following that I wanted to have. So buckle up.
I kind of wanted you to start just because I wanted to see what you were going to say, but I forgot you can also just say it, even if I do the intro.
Yep.
Well, next week I am assuming that it will be co-hosted by Joe Rogan, because I feel like that's the only one we haven't.
We'll have to see. We'll just tune in.
Tune in.
Tell your friends. You'll just have to see who's hosting next week. As a guest problem.
A guest problem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I kind of like that. We haven't had a guest on the show yet, and that would be kind of a fun thing to call them, a guest problem. Well, I want to start by saying a huge thank you to anybody who came out to the shows at Acme this past week in Minneapolis. Oh my God, what a fun week of shows. And I do think it really ruined me for the rest of the tour, because not only were the shows so fun, but Chad was there on Wednesday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And it just was so nice to have you like giving me notes before I shoot the special, like knowing that you're in the room watching, having you with me, not like actively doing merch with me, but just knowing that you're right there.
It was chit-chatting.
Yeah. And I think that was extra fun for people who knew you were there, and they're like, oh my God, Chad's here.
Oh, well, that's nice. Yeah, it was fun chatting with the other people that were on the show, James and Grant. Mm-hmm. They were out there selling their koozies. I got a couple.
Yeah, that was very nice.
For the pontoon. Mm-hmm. Minnesota accent. I got to tell this. So I wasn't at the show Thursday night because I went to the Minnesota Wild game with my friend Brady, who is convinced he doesn't have a Minnesota accent. And then the Wild were just like passing it around to no one. And then I know this isn't a sports podcast, but he stands up and goes, "Boys, take your time." And I went, "Okay, why don't you sit down, Minnesota, and let's enjoy the rest of the game." Take your time.
That's a version of the accent I haven't heard yet, because I feel like it's usually focused on the O's. Pontoon.
Right.
Oh,
motherfucker. Sorry. Just got drive-by tailed.
By our cat, if you watch on YouTube. She just loves to love Chad, and Chad really hates it.
She goes, "Oh, what's wrong? If you get dander in your eyes, will they get swollen, and will they shut?" And then she just goes behind me, and I go, "This won't be a problem." Tail to the eyeball. Bare eyeball. Oh, here it comes. I can already feel it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No sweat.
When Chad's special comes out, there's an incredible joke in there about, well, you guys, I guess we've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, how you feel about cats and their mental status. But
It's
in particular, okay,
It's
close
too
your
much.
eyes. Close your eyes.
Out of here. God damn it. Hey, pick a spot, ding dong.
You always sit on my lap. You're just being so mobile today. Anyway, we had a lot going on this past week with the shows. We got dinner with some friends. It was very nice. And I don't know if you want to make it like a middle segment heavy episode, but we've started to try and introduce a middle segment.
Yeah, I will tell you this. Let's talk about going out to eat.
Okay,
You know, you pick reviews.
Yeah.
And you look at them and you think, well, we have to, I mean, if this has 4.9 stars, 2,000 reviews, obviously it is the place to go. But what you don't realize is these are not people in the culinary world leaving reviews. They are normal, right? Like, hey, y'all, you're not going to believe this. You can write your name on a $1 bill and they'll let you staple it to the wall, 5 stars. And then you get there and the burger sucks. It's like a salt lick. It is so, it was not good.
That's such a funny example. I can think of a restaurant that's like that, where it's like the walls are covered It's in Leavenworth, Washington. Walls are covered in dollar bills, and I think the food's like fine. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've had it, but that is definitely like the attraction of the place.
Of course, yeah.
You can staple money to the wall.
Yeah, which is, by the way, a federal offense. But anyways, you're not allowed to destroy government property, and that's what money is. Yeah. Now, I'm being an old guy right now, but it is lame because you go there and they go, well, we're known for our old fashions and our burgers. And then at the end of it, you're drunk enough on old fashions to go, hey, man, you should not be known for your burgers because they suck.
Yeah, should we name names?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Minneapolis is really into their burger scene, which I love. I'm so excited to be able to have burgers back in my life. But yeah, we went to like the place. The supposed place. And Chad and I have had better burgers elsewhere. And we were kind of like, oh shit, okay, well at least we can check it off our list now.
My daughter Olivia makes fantastic smash burgers, and I think that's the trouble. I think because it's the ambiance is we're at the lake cabin. We are, if you can hear clicking, by the way, it's snow melting off the roof and falling down onto different parts.
I thought the neighbor's dog was right out there barking because it kind of sounds like burp.
Oh, no, that is. But who knows? I mean, Kelsey told a ghost story last week and obviously brought this bitch home because, and I don't mean bitch respectfully, but it's a ghost. And our office door was open this morning. The freezer door was open this morning and the fridge alarm was going off. And now, the shades are closed. I hope it's snow falling.
What if I'm haunted? A wall fixture did just drop off the green room wall in Acme while I was in there.
Yeah.
What if I'm haunted now?
I hope so.
Why? We live together.
I know, but it's not. It's like haunting you, not me.
Well, I don't care if I melting your ice cream.
Yeah, but I don't. Good. Get rid of this pillow once and for all. So, anyways, what we were talking about is we've talked about doing this middle segment. So we're going to try that today. We're going to give you some dates. I'm not, because I'm not prepared. I was doing 100 other things before this started. Yeah. Kelsey's going to give you dates. And then we're going to try some questions, like a get to know us. You guys send us questions. We get to know you. Here's a get to know us situation.
Yes, per your request. And also, we get a lot of emails from you guys saying that you like to listen as a couple and then ask each other the questions. So if there's a listener write in and we weigh in, you guys like to also weigh in within your relationship. Like, oh, what would you do? What do you think? So the questions that we're going to start asking each other in this middle segment are things that I think are very interesting for you to ask a partner as well.
Yeah, hit the pause button. Make sure you're not in a car. So if you don't like the answer, you don't drive it into a goddamn ditch and roll it on purpose. Otherwise, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah. Buckle or even without a partner. I think these are good questions. In terms of dates. Okay, let me think about this. Okay, so I'm shooting my special in Madison this weekend. Holy shit.
Yeah.
5 days? 4 days?
5.
5 days.
4. 3. I have no idea. I just guess.
I'm shooting it really soon, and 2 of the shows are sold out.
That's how I, like when I'm trying to write something by hand, and I'm like, well, that's not how you spell it. And then I'll try it again. I'll be like, that's not how you spell it. And be like, fuck it. And I just change it. Completely change it. It's like resto, the place with food.
Yeah.
Immediately. You're like, I'm doing it soon. All right.
Yeah, I love that Patrice O'Neill joke about the spelling bee so his mom doesn't get killed. And they're like, spell restaurant. He's like, oh, restu.
Oh, that's just me stealing jokes again, you guys.
No.
Don't worry about it.
No.
I just picked a word that people have trouble with.
Yes, exactly. I'm just saying that's one of my favorite jokes. Okay, so I'm in Madison this weekend. 2 of the shows are sold out. I think there are not that many left for the other ones. Thank God, because for a second there, I was like, what is going on? Because apparently this club allows refunds up until like the day of. And so the website had said sold out on a couple of the shows. And then I had refreshed it and they weren't sold out. And I was like, what the fuck is that? It's like shooting The Hustler all over again, where it was the Stanley Cup finals and people they weren't able to get a refund, but they were just straight up like, I have 2 tickets for Kelsey Cook show because I'm not going to be there. I'm going to be going to see the Colorado Avalanche instead of watching her special taping. I was like, no.
Yeah. And instead of shooting it during the Stanley Cup this year, she decided, how about the Final Four? How about, that thing that people have been watching for 2 straight weeks and becoming invested in? Now there's only 4 teams left, and I'm going to shoot a special while all 4 of them are playing.
What am I doing?
Not checking the sports almanac. I know that.
Is that a thing?
Sure it is. That's how Biff won all his money in Back to the Future 2.
I don't think of these things. And I should have thought of it.
Clearly.
I should have thought, but I always feel like there's something.
There is always something going on.
And I feel like sometimes these things, like with the Colorado Avalanche being in the Stanley Cup Finals, it's like, well, you don't know when you book it that particular team of the city you're going to perform in. Anyway.
Well, the good news is the University of Wisconsin, which is in Madison, lost early to James Madison, which feels ironic.
Yes. I'm sorry, Wisconsin, but pretty excited that you guys aren't invested that much, at least.
Yeah.
So shooting the special.
It's going to be great. It's a great hour. I keep interrupting you, but I just want to give a little hype. It's a great hour. It's going to be fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm going to be there to cheer you on from a back dark corner.
Thank you. I can't wait. And then I'm going to be, okay. I have the first part of this year's dates still memorized, but I still don't have the second half. And I don't even know if they're going to be on sale yet, but I will try. So Sacramento, Salt Lake City, Vegas, Denver, Kansas City. Chad and I do the BERT tour. Georgia, South Carolina, Florida. And then I know that in the fall, I don't know if this is the order. It's like Omaha, Fort Collins, Providence, Phoenix, Dania Beach, San Antonio, Austin. But I'm missing, I think, 1 or maybe 2. But anyway, guys, kelseycook.com for tour tickets. That was so professional.
Yeah. ChadDaniels.com. I'm not going to guess. Well, let's do it. Should we learn some things about one another?
Yeah. I want to know about the day job that you hated the most.
Ooh, day job that I hated the most. I mean, probably I worked for Xerox. So for those unfamiliar, Xerox is a copy machine company, but what they would also do is they would sell their big copiers to businesses, and then they would employ people like me who had nothing going for them to go to these companies, print out all the reports, and then deliver them.
Okay.
And I had to do this overnight because that's when all the reports were done. I would get in at like 8 o'clock at night and and then stay there until about 6 in the morning.
Ooh, how old were you?
It was pretty brutal. I was 19, 20,
God.
something like that.
Did it pay well?
It paid, it did. It paid well. And then, I wasn't, doing anything. I wasn't going out to eat because I was sleeping all day and then going to work where I would bring Tupperware food in Tupperware. Yeah. And then lost a bunch of weight, felt great. But had a miserable social life for about a year. I wasn't really doing anything socially.
Oh, you worked nights for a year? Mm-hmm. I don't know how you people do, like nurses when they're doing the overnight shifts. And so it's like, God damn.
Yeah. Yeah. So probably that was my least favorite, only because of the social aspect of it.
Oh, okay. You didn't mind the job itself?
The job was like fine. I'd fall asleep once in a while and I don't know, watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Fall asleep once in a while. Yeah. It's not a bad job.
No, so it was it was okay in that aspect, but not being able to see anyone.
Yeah. I mean, that's the cabin fever feeling, I would imagine.
Yeah, but I wouldn't work. I wouldn't work Friday nights and Saturday nights, but I was always too tired to do anything.
Oh, okay.
I was just this old man who was 19 and 20, just going like, "Hey guys, you guys going out? Ooh, how about 7? Want to go out at 7 p.m.?"
Man, we would have really made a fitting couple if I was also your age at that time, because that's when I had my Kate +8 haircut, and I looked 50.
Nice.
So we would have been gelling.
What was your least favorite day job?
I've had a lot of least favorite day jobs, to be honest.
All right.
So I'm really trying to narrow it down here. I worked at 2 different pita pits, and those were their own versions of hell. Just any sort of food service. I did a lot of food service in in college and in high school. And God, now I'm like thinking of other ones that were so bad too, of food service ones. Anyway, the one that comes to mind of like a boss that I really disliked the most was actually my last day job I had before I was able to start doing stand-up full time. It was in LA, and I was an admin assistant / receptionist. And it was just very like Devil Wears Prada vibes from this boss. And he just like did not talk to people nicely. There was like, felt like a lot of fear in the office, a lot of like, he really hated sweets being around. So somebody came back from Hawaii and had brought back chocolate covered macadamia nuts, which are very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. And they set it out in the break room for the employees to have. And he came by and he picked it up and he threw it in the trash. Because he was like, no, like I don't want to be tempted by sweets. And it's like, then don't have them.
That seems a lot like the attitude of someone not eating sweets.
Yeah.
Just pissed about everything all the time. Yeah.
Angry. And when I took the job, they had like the person training me who had it previously was like, okay, so it's also your job to do these food orders every week. And we have this big kind of like snack candy area. And so, you know, restock with this. And so I'd been doing that for like weeks and weeks. And then one day he saw it, he came up to me, he goes, "Are you ordering all that candy?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Don't do that. We don't need that. Nobody needs that." And I knew meanwhile that, I mean, so many people at this job were very unhappy, and that like getting their little square of Dove chocolate was like really getting them through the day or whatever. And so I was just like, oh, this fucking guy, like won't let anybody have candy because he doesn't want to be tempted by it. And shortly after that, I received the notice that I was going to start opening for Jim Norton on tour and that I was able to quit the day job. And before I left, I made one last order for the company, and I ordered like a fuck ton of candy and chocolate. I feel like you'd be proud of me for this. I feel like this is like a very you thing to do. I ordered a ton of like tubs of Red Vines, all this chocolate and candy. And then I stocked the drawer, and on my last day out, I put a sticky note on there that said, "Life is short, eat chocolate," which is like so fucking corny, I know. But that was like my middle finger to that guy, being like, fuck you, man. Like, let these people be happy. And then I had a friend there who continued to work there, and she told me like months later that I came up in conversation. And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, the magician." That's the impression I made on him. "Oh yeah, the magician." Yeah, the magician.
Well, in the business still.
Yeah. In entertainment, sure. Anyway, that was a hard one. That was a hard one to do. I didn't like going there.
I bet not. Next week, I will read the question in advance, so I will have a longer story and be prepared for my answer.
I thought your story was totally fine.
I beg your pardon.
If that's your story, that's your story. It just is.
Well, right, but I'd like to have a little bit of time maybe to think about it instead of just be like, "Oh, this job."
You're real, like... Sometimes you want to know, sometimes you don't. You're like, I don't want to hear the questions.
Well, I don't want to hear the questions because I don't want to overthink them. But I would like to actually, I mean, your story was clearly thought out and prepared and everything.
Yeah.
And
I've told the story before.
Sure.
So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Next week, tune in. I'm going to read a question beforehand and have a better prepared story.
Do you want to read any other questions?
Do you want to just go right to the listener questions?
Sure. Yeah.
Great.
Oh, because you want more time. Okay.
No, I don't need more time. I just like, I could excuse myself.
No. I just meant like, I meant that you want more time ahead of time knowing what these questions are so that you have.
Well, yeah, it seems a little weird when I'm giving one word answers.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
That makes sense. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It can be easy to ignore our social battery and spread ourselves thin, especially with social gatherings picking up after the winter. What's the right amount of socializing for you? And how do you recharge? Maybe you thrive around people, or maybe you need some more alone time. Therapy can give you the self-awareness. I just spit on my face. Therapy can give you the self-awareness, which I need more of apparently when I'm talking, to build a social life that doesn't drain your battery. So Chad and I talk often about like what we both need in terms of social interaction and like being an introvert versus an extrovert. And Chad, I do think, handles social gatherings better than I do in terms of like, you're not as drained by them. You don't need to like have like a moment to recharge.
Yeah, my battery doesn't get drained. I actually do the draining. And my battery gets overcharged. And that's also a problem because then I'm like jacked up and ready to break legs if people talk shit. So that's why I go to therapy, to change the oil and kind of take a little bit out of my battery, get it at the right level.
And I like going to therapy to kind of like regroup, get my life back in order, kind of talk about where things are at, because I get very easily overwhelmed when there's too much going on.
Yeah. If you're thinking of starting therapy, you should give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. That's the perfect thing. I've said this so many times to people in my life. Oh, I don't have enough time for therapy. Yes, you do, because if you spend an hour doing therapy, your brain is going to declutter and you are going to have more time than you ever imagined. So just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. You can find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/pretendprobs to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/pretendprobs.
Yes. And now here is the rest of the episode.
Here it is.
Okay. So this is an interesting one to start with. And as always, guys, if you want us to give you listener advice, you can write into pretendproblemspodcast@gmail.com. So this one is titled, Here We Go, ... I have a question I don't think you've addressed yet. The other night, my wife and I were watching TV in our bedroom. I could feel the rumblings of a fart building. So I got up, went into our ensuite bathroom, closed the door, and let it rip. It was not the worst fart I've ever had. It was not the worst fart I've ever let fly in front of her. Moderately loud, minor stink, kind of long in duration, 3 to 5 seconds. I love this play-by.
Yeah. If there's ever a fart contest, we need to get you in the judging booth for sure.
So many specifics. I really love it. Now, we like to shower together, and we were going to be showering together that night, but not right then. In about 15 minutes or so. Plenty of time for the smell to dissipate, in my opinion. Post-fart, I came back into our bedroom and she was giving me the stink eye and said she didn't want to be showering with me that night. Now I get it. If I did that right before we got in the shower or like at her, she has every right to be upset. But there was what I consider an acceptable interval. She, however, claimed the fart sounded like I might need hospitalization. She is exaggerating. So my question is a two-parter. First, was what I did wrong? Was she right to be upset? Should I have gone to another room further away? Second, do you have fart etiquette with your significant other? Fartiquette, if you will?
I won't.
If it makes a difference, we have been married 29 years. Okay.
The fact that you're leaving the bed to fart after 29 years is super impressive.
1000%.
This seems like a case, and listen, I got up on the wrong side of the bed today. But this seems like a case to me where she didn't want to take a shower with you in the first place, and you just happened to give her an out. So next time, why don't you pull your pants down and fart right on her forehead? Because you're not going to have a shower anyway, so why not bury this motherfucker? That's what I say. I say if you're going to take the time to get up and let it dissipate and all this stuff, and there's still not going to be a shower, you kind of can tell what's happening there. This was I got into bed, started watching TV, now I'm sleepy, now I want to stay in bed. Oh my God, I can't believe you farted. I will never shower with you. That's
But why wouldn't she just say that then? Why wouldn't she just say, I'm tired, I don't want to get in the shower?
because maybe that would cause problems. But now she can put it on him instead of taking the heat.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I just think like it's fishy to me.
Well, the visual of farting on a forehead is maybe one of my favorite things you've ever said, because I imagine that sound is just very, like it's very flat against it, and I love it.
There's going to be a ricochet.
Yeah. I would classify this under a pretend problem for her. I don't think that this is like, no, what you did was not wrong. I don't think she has a right to be actually upset about this. I don't think you needed to go to a room further away. Like Chad said, the fact that you even got out of bed. Mm-hmm. Listen, every morning, Chad wakes up to the sound of, it sounds like a king is arriving. It's like, burr, burr, burr.
It is pretty amazing.
So, like, I fart in my sleep sometimes, and it's just like, I don't know.
She farted, I'm going to say 4 days ago, and started giggling. And I didn't say anything. I didn't react because I was waiting for the glass sensors in our security system to go off. I thought for sure that, number one, the pressure in the room had changed. And it was, my ears popped. It was just an interesting, it's the loudest fart I've ever heard from her. And I've heard farts from the toilet where it's like, you know, like when you yell into a cave, that kind of shit, where it echoes back. It was awesome.
Yeah, I feel like we're a little bit the opposite of this situation, because there are times where, like, if I know it's going to be really bad, I will try to, like, get away from Chad. And then there are times where it's like, it comes out, I didn't know it was going to be that bad. And then he'll, like, fluff the blanket.
Yeah, I like to, because I want to know, is it 3 to 5 on the smell stink scale? I'm not sure. And let me tell you something, oftentimes it's an 8 to 10. And then if I think about finding a genie's lamp and rubbing it, and all 3 wishes being that I would not have done that. But that's just where we're at. And then when she farts like that, I'm like, maybe we should take a shower together, because there's no way you're going to be able to clean your back. I'll have to come in and wash your back, because that for sure went down and around and up like a onesie blowout on a baby. And so, so the fact that she didn't want to bathe you and let you get back into bed is also suspect to me.
Oh my God, my stomach.
You have to fart?
When you shake the blanket, I'm like, what is wrong with you? God, it's like so horrifying for me.
Because she tucks in, she goes full burrito.
I go burrito. I'm like, let it die in here. Let it just stain the couch.
But then it gets in your skin and you're walking around like a marinated chicken breast.
I know. And then I'll like try to like rinse off or something. Use a wipe.
You're going to have to wipe like everything that was under the blanket.
Well, either way, I don't want it fluffed out into the air, but Chad likes it because he knows it makes me go, no!
It is fun to get a reaction.
I have a big reaction when you do that.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I know this isn't going to be everybody's favorite advice, and it maybe even seems like some sort of 5th degree assault. But I'm saying put it on her forehead next time. Really, really let one rip so it looks like she's skydiving, like ripples in the skin, and see where that gets you.
I've only recently gotten a fart in front of me from Chat Out, and it was like one of the greatest days of my life.
And I did it because it was when she had her show at the Comedy Store, and it all went so great. And then we went and got In and Out. So she was having like the perfect night. And then I was like, well, haha, motherfucker. Gotcha. I just blocked the cat's tail if you're listening. And so then I thought, well, why don't we just cap this night off perfectly? And I leaned over and kissed her and then farted.
God, it was the perfect night. It made me so happy. So yeah, that's kind of our Fartiquette. Fartiquette. Yeah, I did. I feel like I said that right. Should I share the quick story about my agent?
Yeah.
Oh God, because I don't think he listens. This was, I don't know when, a while back.
6 months.
Okay. And I was on the phone with my agent and I really had to go to the bathroom. And I thought that he wouldn't be able to hear anything. And then a fart snuck out and it was so loud and it was into the toilet bowl. And I mean, there's no way he didn't hear this.
Yeah.
And he stopped talking. He stopped talking. And we just sat there for a second. And then he continued talking. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I was so embarrassed.
And we have pretty big toilets. The bowl is bigger than normal toilets. And it definitely is like a delayed echo.
Yeah.
And so you get the fart, little bit of silence, and then it comes back at you full force.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, horrifying.
Well, I mean, let this be a lesson. If you have an agent or you're talking on the phone to anybody, don't do it while you're shitting.
I don't even know if I was shitting, but I know a fart came out, and
I do too, because you were mortified.
I was. Oh my God. That was so embarrassing. Anyway, person who wrote this in, don't feel bad. That was a human thing to do. It's very considerate that you even got up.
Very considerate.
Especially after 29 years of marriage. I mean, like, not every couple who's been together 29 years has that level of, like, how do we keep dating each other? Like, you're really dating your wife, I think, to leave the room and do that. And, like, if she has a problem with that, I don't know. I think it's like, lady.
The majority of people I know will, week one, right? As long as you've slept with them and they're staying over, will Dutch oven a person.
Oh my gosh. I don't know about that.
Yeah. Go full McDonald's fart, pull it over the head, and let them sit in it for a little bit.
A McDonald's fart.
Yeah.
That's so specific.
McDonald's is so gross.
Oh God. Just the fries that never digest. Oy. Anyway, thank you for writing in.
Thank you.
Okay, this one is titled Go FHS.
Ooh, we got an otter. Otter alert.
Someone loved your cheer.
Otter alert.
Day. Hi, Kelsey and Chad. Fellow otter here, Chad, class of 89.
Knew it.
Perhaps it is because we are from the same hometown, or just the honesty you and Kelsey seem to have on the podcast, but you've connected with me. I admire the work you both put into your craft as well as your relationship. I've been meaning to write for a while, but listening to the ghost story episode today put me over the edge. While growing up, I used to work for the school in Fergus Falls, running sound and lights for the auditorium in the middle school. If you never went exploring, there are catwalks that go from the sound/light booth at the back of the balcony, run above the ceiling to a row of lights in the ceiling, and then all the way to above the stage. I was working late one night, setting lights for a play. As I was on the catwalk, I looked off to the right and see two red eyes looking at me, floating up and down, and a dark cloud surrounding them. I got the chills and the hairs on my arms stood up, much like Kelsey in the hotel room. I later did some research, no Google then, and learned that while they were building the middle school, one of the construction workers died in a fall right on the spot where the auditorium now sits.
Wow.
Are we a ghost podcast now? I think we're a ghost podcast now.
Well, that's a way to get popular.
Yeah, truly, yeah. Second thing is that while I was older enough than Chad to have really known who you were, my younger brother did. Apparently, the one time he decides to have a party at our parents' house, Chad shows up, causes some commotion, and ends up egging our house.
Hang tight. Here's the thing about this.
As I understand it, a chase ensued, but kind of petered out.
So, I got blamed for a lot of shit that I didn't do. A ton of stuff. I went to a Super Bowl party one time, and a lamp got broken because they were throwing a football around. I left early because I was taking some shit for who I was cheering for. So I was just like, no trouble here. Mm-hmm. So I left early. And then when the mom got home, they blamed the broken lamp on me. Oh. And she was kind of a bitch to me until the kid's wedding, maybe 15 years later.
Yeah.
And then she comes over, we're all having dinner, and she goes, remember when you broke my lamp? And then everyone started laughing, and they're like, we should probably tell you, he did not break your lamp. So for that long, I had been blamed for that lamp. So I don't know about this. Yeah. I'd need a name. I would need to know this party. I did egg houses when it was deserved, and I was fast. So there could have been a chase that petered out because I was long gone.
My God. It's so fun. I don't feel like that was a big thing in my high school or middle school was egging houses.
Oh, it was a huge thing.
Maybe it wasn't. I just obviously wasn't leading the brigade. And then they say, third, we were at the late show taping where you said someone got sick. We had no idea, so staff handled it great. That alone is worth you making that venue a regular. We will be there every time.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and he says, last thing for today, I admire the work you both do on your craft. The amount of time you put in coming up and perfecting so much material is inspiring. I was a comedy MC at Grandma's in Duluth in college, so I saw a lot of comics and many multiple times. The number of comics who came through with the same material year after year was notable. You can't see?
I can't see that.
Oh, okay. Whether it is just that competition has changed, the internet has made it so comics can reach more people and can't get by with the same material over and over, I don't know. But to have done 10 hours, Chad, is amazing. Question. If you knew you would get to 10 hours, what would your goal have been instead?
Oh,
that's a really good question, by the way.
That is a good question. Probably something fancier, probably having to do with TV or appearances or something, but
a shiny thing.
But I really do think that was my goal, because it was just anytime I heard comedians talking, that was kind of like the pinnacle or a hard thing for people to do. So
yeah. And also just a side note for your ghost story. So if you missed last week's episode, we shared my recent ghost story of staying in a haunted hotel. And it was crazy because I posted that clip of talking about it. And there are a lot of people that are like, oh, this is the story from this particular, like this apparently was a bit of a news story. One of those things that like ends up getting talked about on podcasts as a creepy, eerie, unfortunate situation. And so, I mean, isn't that kind of crazy too? It's like, I got those hits that popped up when I Googled it, but I didn't know that this was like a thing that was talked about on podcasts and stuff like that. And your sister listened and then sent me a voice message saying that after listening to it, she had like the worst nightmare of her life. Which like breaks my heart, because I like, that is not what I want to give people. But I just, yeah.
And I'm thrilled to hear that, because I thought the biggest nightmare of her life was being my little sister. So that actually works out perfectly.
We've swapped it out.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I never thought that we would have a personal ghost story on the podcast, but yeah, I'm sorry for any other nightmares I gave listeners.
That is wild though, that person died in that area while building that thing. Because when you were saying red eyes, I'm like, oh, that's probably just some lighting up there.
Yeah.
But if it's floating and there's black smoke around, that's fucking wild. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to dismiss all of these stories as silliness. And then these ghosts are going to gang up on me, and it is going to fucking rock my world.
And you've never had anything that you're like, this is weird?
Not really. I mean, I also get, like, if you do feel like something's happening, you get the tingles.
Yeah.
But that's because we used to be covered in hair, and when we got scared, we needed that defense mechanism for our hair to stand up, to look bigger, to scare away whatever we were scared of. And so that's why we get those chills. And so there is like science-based behind it. It doesn't mean a spirit is passing through you as much as a lot of people would like to think. It just means when we, we're doing what we were supposed to do to scare away things, but we don't have the hair to prove it.
Yeah. That was a very cool Snapple fun fact about our evolution. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. I love learning from you. Okay, so this one is titled, I Never Know What to Put Here. They say, hi, Kelsey and Chad. Love the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Haven't been listening for long, but hope to stick around and look forward to every episode. I've been following Kelsey for only a few months and just heard about Chad. Sorry, Chad. And have been hooked ever since. Thank you. I get so excited when I hear that people are like recent listeners. Or they like saw a clip or something. This is exciting.
Yep.
Anyways, my question is, how do you take care of yourself mentally and physically while being on the road? I know sometimes it can get draining and with weird people at shows, etc. And sometimes life/personal stuff gets in the way. Also, by the time you get this, I've gone to Kelsey's shows in Tacoma. Wishing you both all the best and can't wait to see and hear more. Well, thank you for coming to the shows in Tacoma.
Heck yeah.
I would say the best way to take care of yourself on the road is to not stay in a hotel where a young girl died in a freezer. Probably my number one.
That's your number one? I would say...
That was a sleepless night.
I would say get sunshine, get fresh air, stretch, work out with some weights if you can, and get some sleep. Don't booze late into the wee hours. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you a little something about AG1.
Are you going to give them a free plug? They're not the sponsor for this episode. It's BetterHelp.
Well, also therapy.
Therapy. Yes.
And I could talk to you about AG1 next episode.
That was so smooth, though. It's like, oh, shit. Yeah, I've opened up a bit on here about dealing with some depression last year, and it's the road is a really tough thing to put your mind and body through, even when the rest of your life is great. It's still like I was saying before, like, oh, I land from being on a plane and I'm tired. And I would make myself feel bad. So I'm like, you just sat for 3 hours. Like, go do something now. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't just sit on your couch. You sat fucking 30,000 feet in the air.
Show off.
And flew through the sky at whatever mile per hour. It's
480.
Like, is it really?
I don't know. 520.
Woo. Anyway, it's like, well, the cells in your body are probably like, Jesus Christ, that was a lot to go through. And now we're tired. So it's like you put your body through that. You're staying in a bed that's not yours. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what is that stat you said where it's like the first night in a hotel, your brain is...
It's not the first night. So it's only half of your brain will sleep at a time because you're not at home. You're like, this is from evolution, but...
Again, this is so... What an informative episode, guys.
It's when you are away from your home, your brain won't trust the surroundings. And so that's why if you are working on the road, try to stay in the same hotel chain as much as possible, because then that will start to feel like a home game a little bit, but it's still kind of jacked up.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just all to say that like we're putting our bodies through shit that is already hard to do. And then we're going and doing 2 hours of performing on stage each night. It's a lot. So I know for me, when I was going through the depression, it's like I was dealing with some hard mom stuff at that moment and trying to like navigate how to handle communicating with it. And anyway, it's hard, and you have to take care of yourself. Like you have to, like Chad said, I think getting outside is huge. Don't let yourself sit in your hotel room the entire day. Mm-hmm. That is, which is hard because if you have depression, you don't feel like you can leave. It's like a really bad cycle. But I'm pretty big on supplements. Big fan of vitamins and supplements. Try to eat well, try to sleep well. And I think the biggest thing that Chad and I are doing is that we are cutting back on touring, actually. Mm-hmm. Which, because I feel like we've realized you can... Oh, God, speaking of farts, how funny.
Right in my face. He fucking had his legs spread.
Oh, my God.
He's
yeah,
on
look
his
at it.
back.
Our dog...
Jesus, dude.
Our dog Poe does some bad farts, and that's funny because I don't think he's farted on the podcast so far, and he did it on the fart episode.
That was brutal. Nice job, buddy.
Oh, buddy.
As advertised.
That was a real mascot move right there. But Chad and I have realized that you can take care of yourself to the nth degree on the road, but if you are on the road all the time, it's like it's still a losing battle, I feel like, with health. So yeah, we're going down to like 2 weekends a month starting in the fall, and we're going to see how it goes, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. And if you are one of these people that go, well, I don't have to leave my hotel room because I don't have depression because, I've never had it. I mean, maybe you've had it your whole life and it just, you're so used to it that you don't know you have depression or anxiety or whatever. And I don't know if this is autobiographical, but still, get out of your fucking hotel room.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that was a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you for writing in. I don't know if you're a comedian, by the way, or if it was just like a general, wanting to know. Okay. So the title of this threw me off initially, and then it's very funny. So it says, your podcast sucks, ... the fun out of the rest of the week until I get to listen again.
Oh, she likes when other people joking, kid. Interesting.
Oh my God.
Interesante.
So funny. They say, I used to like Thursdays. This is no longer the case, and I'm pretty sure it's all your fault. The agony of having to wait a whole week until it is Wednesday again is almost too much to bear, but fortunately it is overshadowed by the delight that I experience in viewing your podcast on YouTube. I love to see the reactions when you discuss your relationship, and especially Kelsey's dramatic reaction to an expertly placed rejoinder by Chad.
Oh, thank you.
Like he just did.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed my reaction. I love the comedy from each of you, and I'm so glad that you found each other. It is great to see people so devoted to one another. Your example has inspired me to be even more intentional toward maintaining my relationship with my wife. That's really nice to hear. Thanks.
Until then, I thought maybe Kelsey had written this. Just as a pump it up a little bit. I seriously, I'm like waiting for the big reveal that you wrote that.
That would be very funny.
That'd be super funny.
You always make those jokes, but it's like, I don't know what you think you don't do.
Oh, I'm just.
Oh, okay. Anyway, on to my, I'm like, such a great partner. On to my question, which is a parent-child relationship question. Our oldest son, 16, has been making choices that have had him struggling. There has been a multi-year ramping up of poor behavior despite our best efforts in guiding, directing, and parenting our 4 children. Over the past year, my kiddo has earned himself a couple of criminal charges and spent 2 extended stays in juvenile detention. He currently lives in an out-of-state youth home where he is undergoing some intensive therapy to help him reform. Our goal is to get him in a mental place where he can be reunited safely within our home. We get 2 phone calls with him each week and an hour-long family therapy session as well. The biggest challenge we have faced is his defiant attitude and his schema that he should be able to enjoy all the positive elements of being in the family, but not contribute in other less desirable ways. He has traditionally been unwilling to pick up or help around the house or yard unless he perceives some benefit to him directly. We have been working at educating him on the validity of the family hierarchy and the value of working together as a family for our common well-being. In preparing to bring him home in a year or so, we want to have a great relationship built on mutual respect. What strategies would you suggest in managing this child who is rapidly approaching adulthood? Thank you for the fun you bring to the world, James.
Sorry about that.
Oh, get it together,
but it is
bud.
fucking brutal.
Oh my God. This is a perfect summation of our podcast. We get people really bearing their soul, and then we're like, sorry, hold on.
I was
a second,
holding my
dog.
breath while she finished the email out of respect, James, because this is a very serious question.
Yeah. I'm going to let you handle it because you
I
are
have to
the
tell
parent.
you, this is I don't know. Isaac was defiant to a point, but he also, not like this. I think, and this is so hard with a kid. I can't imagine being able to do this. But when my sister was in rehab, we went for a family weekend. And there comes a point. Now, we were talking about a young woman at this point. You're talking about a 16-year-old. That's still a child. And so, but they taught us that you can still love someone without taking on that cross to bear. And and I know you're the parents. So again, I don't know if this is going to make any sense, but you can still love someone without letting their actions completely ruin your days all the time. Man, James, first of all, I'm sorry you're going through this. Yeah. And with 3 other children, watching that as an example, so maybe that leads me to this: just be as loving, I'm sure you are, as possible, but also, it appears there are boundaries here, and that's great, because your other 3 kids are going to kind of see like, well, if he can get away with it, then I'm going to start getting away with it. So if you set boundaries like you have, I guess I don't really have any advice. I have a kudos to you for doing what you're doing right now and making hard decisions. I mean, having a child in an out-of-state juvenile facility does not sound fun. It does not sound like what you had hoped for when you had this kid. But decisions have to be made, and hard ones sometimes. And so respect, dude. That's all. Yeah. That's all I have.
Yeah, we're sorry you're going through that. I mean, I can't even imagine how heartbreaking that is. Okay. This next one is called Front Row of Chad's First Special Taping.
Okay. Uh-oh. I know where this is headed.
I think it's very interesting. I think you're going to really like to hear.
Because I think I mocked.
No, but I think...
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting. Hello again, Kelsey and Chad. Kelsey, I heard Acme's comedy podcast today, and on there you mentioned how you're helping with the edits of Chad's special taping from the Fitzgerald Theater. You said that Chad had thought the early taping wasn't the one because he'd gotten fixated on some people in the front row who weren't laughing very hard.
True.
I was at the early special taping, sitting in the stage right section about 7 or 8 rows back. I was by myself. About 10 minutes before the show was to begin, someone from the recording crew came up to me and asked if I was alone, and then for me to follow them. And then they tried to seat me in a single empty seat in the very front row, just a couple of seats to the left of center. So someone who'd been scheduled to be in that seat was a no-show. Once I realized that they wanted me to fill that seat, I told them I'd rather be back where I was, which I did, and then they went to try to find someone else. So maybe this helps explain any front row weirdness that was going on. Someone was missing, and someone random that the people in that row didn't know was put there to fill the gap. I didn't want to be there myself because I didn't want to be in the special and maybe get called on, and sure enough, some people near there were. I was very happy where I was and had a great time. So I think this is interesting because it's like, who knows how many people in the front row were like put up there that maybe initially were like, oh God, I'm not a front row person, that then like nervous to get talked to.
Right. I think what happens in these situations is sometimes, those ticket buyers, the scalpers will buy the front couple rows, and then when it sells out, then they make their money because those tickets are, the prices are jacked up.
Yeah.
And the people that don't buy those seats then end up, those are empty seats. And so they have to get people like you were explaining. So thank you for telling me that, because I was confused. I was confused by some of the reactions in the front row. And then, however, there was one lady in the front row that made me laugh super hard, as you can probably remember, and that'll be in the special. But when I listened back to the first show, I was so surprised at how hard the laughs were and how fast they were. Just these huge pops, tons of applause breaks. So I completely misremembered the reactions, and I think it's because I had some people, there were a couple intoxicated couples in the front row too, which is kind of weird because that show is at 6. But I don't know. That's not sometimes what happens with comedy. You go early, have a couple beers, you're not used to it, you're just sitting there, and the next thing you know, you're drunk. So, but man, thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for going by yourself too. I know a lot of people don't want to do that. And the first show was, I had mentioned earlier that I thought the second show was the show. And I think that I could have picked either one and been happy with it. So
yeah. Well, watching them both back, it's like they're both fucking grand slams.
But thanks for writing in and explaining that, because that does make a ton of sense.
Yeah. That would be interesting for you to know. Okay, this next one is called Young Hip Problems.
Oh.
They say, hi, Chad and Kelsey. First off, I want to say, Chad, I love your stand-up. Been a fan since the first time I heard the canoe trip bit.
Ooh, it's old school. Deep cut.
I'll catch myself sitting in traffic and randomly yell, well, you can sketch it because we're not fucking moving. Then laugh at the weird face my girlfriend gives me. Anywho, just listened to the latest podcast and heard Chad mention a hip replacement. I was just curious as to what happened to cause that. I myself have gone through several hip surgeries at a very young age. I had my first hip surgery at 13, then ended up having 4 in total the next 3 years. My issue was caused by slipped capital femoral epiphysis. Just wanting to know what stories do you have about the process and stuff you recognize now. Like for me, the weather really does cause my hips to be stiff and sore early in the morning. Getting out of bed as a 31-year-old dude, yet making the same sounds my 86-year-old grandpa getting out of the recliner isn't enjoyable to those trying to sleep next to me. Thanks for the years of laughter and a great podcast.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
I've never told this story, but I went to a hockey camp when I was in 2nd grade and was kidnapped and sold into pornography.
Oh my God.
And
oh my God.
I have been the mayor of Hump City since I was 7 years old. And so clearly I outfucked my hip.
God, that's so dark.
I know it's dark.
Jeez.
And I know that shit actually happens and I know it's not funny. I thought maybe we could find some humor in it if it was a grown man that looks like he charged the Capitol, stormed the Capitol. So here's what happened. Genetics. My grandfather had 3 hip replacements. No, he did not have 3 hips. He had 1 on one side and 2 on the other. And my mom has had a hip replacement. I also used to play basketball on these really hard cement courts that had 9-foot hoops. And we would play for 5 hours a day, dunking nonstop. And so that had a lot to do with it. And I ran a ton in my 20s. And I ran incorrectly. You're supposed to run on the ball of your foot. I ran heel to toe. So every time my foot hit, it set the brakes and pushed my hip back and caused that damage to the cartilage. And so if you go back on my Instagram, it's a while, but you can see a femoral head that you're supposed to have removed and then mine. And it's crazy. There's a little bit of red cartilage rubbed off so you can see the white on the one you're supposed to have replaced. And the one I had replaced looks like someone licked a gobstopper in the same spot for 4 months.
Oh,
I mean, it's like flat. So it was bone on bone. So I had to get that replaced. I will tell you, if you are considering replacing a body part and you are young enough, do it because you will rehab faster. You're not going to be able to do some things. Like I can't run long distance. I'm not supposed to. I can't lift a ton of weight. I think I've told this story before, but I was deadlifting and I felt so good because I'd finally got strength and flexibility back in my hip, and I was deadlifting and I got up to 420 pounds and like dropped the weight like a fucking huge gym bro and was real excited, like banging my chest. My phone rang. It was my hip surgeon just checking in out of the blue. Had no idea. That's why I kind of think like the universe is connected a little bit. So I picked up the phone. He goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "You're not gonna believe this shit. I just deadlifted 420 pounds." And he screamed at me, letting me know that when you pound in a hip replacement, it's metal inside of your femur. And so when you put that much pressure on it, it doesn't work like a bone that bends. It works like a crowbar. And so my femur could have shattered, which would have caused such huge problems. So now I have like a weight limit on what I can do, but I completely recommend it. I know you said you had it already. I don't get stiff in my hip. I don't know if they lubed me up a little better or I had mine later with more technology. I'm not sure about that, but I still do the bands on my legs to make sure that my hips are strong and stuff like that. So maybe try that, get those bands and do the, put them around your ankles and do the monster walk where you step way out. Do the clam where you put the bands around your knees and you're on one side and you open it up kind of like a butterfly wing, but they call it a clam, and that gets your ass cooking. Do both sides. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of PT online that you could look up, but But I think, again, if you're young and you think you need some kind of replacement, I would do it now because you get the benefit of being young. I don't need a hip replacement when I'm 80. Where am I fucking going? So I wanted it now because I'm going to hike Machu Picchu next year. And that's the only reason I got this hip replacement. I was supposed to do it in 2020, but I don't know if you heard about the pandemic. Thanks a lot, Obama.
Oh my God. Please tell people you're kidding.
Well, they have to know I'm kidding.
People who listen for the first time.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. People are listening for the first time. I don't think it was a pandemic, and I don't blame Obama for COVID-19.
You always joke about that. You think you look like you stormed the Capitol, and then you're like,
"Oh, that's
thanks,
true,
Obama." And I'm like, I mean, people don't know.
Thanks a lot, Obama. Put a chip in my shoulder. Now everybody knows where I am. I'm on my couch doing Pretend Problems podcast.
Yeah, from northern Minnesota. I mean, if people are just gonna like
yeah,
take a shot in the dark at your political beliefs, if this is the first time they're listening to you,
that is true.
Anyway, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up for now. But you know what I realized we should talk about next episode that we forgot to talk about is that Sai came to visit with his baby.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And we had such a nice time, and
Sai is the co-host of my other podcast, Middle of Somewhere.
Yeah.
And he came with his baby that he just told people about. And just to be clear, my political beliefs are I think I should be president. That's what they are. I stand with Chad.
I stand with Chad. People would absolutely wear a shirt that says I stand with Chad.
They certainly would not.
Yes, they would. You underestimate how much your fans love you. Anyway, maybe we could talk about that next time because we were having fun conversations about like if we had a baby, like what would we name them recently? Like we were talking about that. And
thank you so much for tuning into Pretend Problems Podcast. Again, if you have a question, please write into pretendproblemspodcast@gmail.com. Check kelseycook.com for all tour dates. Check chaddaniels.com for all tour dates for me. And I suppose we better get out of here. Oh, I wish I had to fart right now.
Chad sometimes wants to have a baby with me. Okay, you really want to end it like that, huh? God.
I mean, it just seems like now we're dragging it on. Why don't we talk about this next time?
Okay, fine. Anyway, thank you guys.
Oh my God, I love it.
I'm glad you do.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you. Write into pretendproblemspodcast@gmail.com if you want us to give you advice. Fart freely in your home. And hopefully see you guys in Madison this weekend for my special taping.
Do it.
We'll talk to you next time. Bye.